Saints have a glaringly obvious need on the offense, and it is in the passing game. Obviously, Spencer Rattler has been okay. He hasn't been perfect. He hasn't been horrible. But the passing attack for this Saints offense has been absolutely lackluster. And it's no mystery that the Saints could definitely get more out of Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Juwan Johnson, and the rest of the receiving threats for this Saints offense. And for today's video, we're going to discuss some juicy Saints rumors and juicy NFL discussion topics because A.J. Brown, he just recently put out some cryptic posts on social media. Makes him seem like he wants out of Philadelphia. These posts imply that he was unhappy with his role for the Eagles offense this year. So before we show you what he had to say and we have this full discussion, I want you to answer this question. Should Kellen Moore reunite with A.J. Brown? This would be a reunion because remember, Kellen Moore was the play caller for Philadelphia last year when they won the Super Bowl. Let me know, should A.J. Brown reunite with the Saints head coach? Yes or no? Now, for what it's worth, there is some context around this. We're not just talking about A.J. Brown for the sake of talking about it, just because whatever. He actually took to social media and put this quote out. If you're not welcome, not listened to, quietly withdraw. Don't make a scene. Shrug your shoulders and be on your way. Interesting, kind of ironic that he's saying be quietly withdraw, don't make a scene, and then goes to social media and kind of makes a scene. Not really, but, still obviously unhappy. Then he went to social media and tweeted this out. I love y'all with all my heart. Obviously, I don't think that this is saying goodbye to Philadelphia. I don't think that this is saying I want traded out. There's no direct verbiage saying that, but clearly A.J. Brown is really unhappy with the situation. And I think that he's saying I love y'all with all my heart to the Eagles fans, not saying that he's going to get traded away, but I love you guys. I just want to do more for you and everything. But, I can tell you right now, when you take all of the context here individually, it really doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. But when you add it all together, it really kind of seems like A.J. Brown misses Kellen Moore. Remember, Kellen Moore was the play caller for the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl. A.J. Brown started off a little bit slow last year and then kind of got the ball rolling, and that's been a theme for the Eagles over the past few years. You start sort of slow and then start winning games, obviously outside of that, like losing, 7 out of the last 8 games or whatever it was a couple years ago. But I was talking to my guy Chase Sr., and he was telling me that, it feels like the Eagles, the theme of that team is every year they kind of start off slow, and then you really get things moving. And wide receivers will be wide receivers. They'll have opinions. They'll have things they got to say. And they'll typically voice those frustrations, whether it's to get money, whether it's to force a trade, whether there's any sort of reasoning here. And I will say that the New Orleans Saints, when it comes to adding A.J. Brown, I think that not only could they use a player exactly like him, I think they could use A.J. Brown. I'm not saying that the Saints need to go sell the farm and go make this happen, by the way. For what it's worth, I don't think that this is something that would happen. However, if for whatever reason A.J. Brown is still unhappy, I think that this offense would greatly benefit from bringing in a player that could fulfill the role that A.J. Brown has for the Philadelphia Eagles. In New Orleans right now, you have a ton of speed. You have a lot of athleticism. You have some really impressive athletes and some really nice route runners and some guys who are pretty impressive. That being said, you are missing size. You obviously traded for Devon Vele, but he's somebody who hasn't really had much of an impact on this offense quite yet. And for the receiving leaders right now, a tight end leads the Saints in receiving yards. It's not the end of the world, but Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, those are guys that should be getting more yards and having more production. And in my personal opinion, I've said this time and time and time again. Chris Olave would benefit from having somebody be a big-bodied physical presence to play alongside him as a complementary wide receiver. I've always said that I thought A.J. Brown really helped Devontae Smith truly open up for the Eagles offense. And I think that he could do the exact same thing with Chris Olave, and I think that Olave would benefit from having A.J. Brown in New Orleans. And for what it's worth, you had an opportunity to kind of see that when Michael Thomas was around and Chris Olave was a rookie, and you got to kind of see that happen for a short little stint there. I wouldn't mind having another alpha wide receiver to play alongside Chris Olave. I love number 12. I think he's a fine football player. I think he's somebody who can still be a high-level contributor to this offense. But I've never shied away from my belief that Chris Olave is not necessarily a wide receiver 1. It's like a wide receiver 1A or 1B. So I'm not saying that he's somebody the Saints shouldn't, or I'm not saying that Chris Olave is somebody that the Saints need to just like write off or just, bring in somebody else to replace him. I think it's honestly bring in somebody to complement him and play alongside him. I don't think you need to replace Olave. I think you just need to give him some extra help. And now with the New Orleans Saints, this is an interesting discussion to have because I took this to Twitter. I put the tweet, put the quote that A.J. Brown put out there, and I saw a lot of people saying, hey, we got to go get A.J. Brown. People got really excited. Saw one comment, even throw out a couple trade ideas. So I thought, you know what? Let's share it. This is a trade idea I saw in my comments on my Twitter page or my replies, whatever you want to call it. A.J. Brown to the Saints for Chris Olave and a 5th-round pick. Some people were also saying 4th-round pick. You don't have a 4th-round selection this year because you traded it for Devon Bailey, but if you wanted to move off and not have to pay Chris Olave in the future, maybe this is something you would do. I want to ask you the question before we continue this conversation. Would you do this trade? If you're an Eagles fan, let me know what you would do. If you're a Saints fan, let me know what you think as well. I'm curious. Trade or pass? Get down in the comment section and share your thoughts. Devontae Smith, like I've said, he is a player that was really able to emerge for the Eagles offense after the Philadelphia traded for A.J. Brown. And he's a player who I think is a really, really talented guy, but it's no mystery that the minute A.J. Brown gets to Philadelphia, Devontae Smith starts putting up much better production. And sure, it was his rookie season, and then he had the year 2, and then you also add in A.J. Brown to the mix. So, there's factors there. But I think A.J. Brown, if he's unhappy in Philadelphia, he could come right back to a guy who won a Super Bowl with him in Kellen Moore, fit right into the offense, have a perfect role already set for him, and it wouldn't be too much change considering he already knows the offense. He already knows how to work with the player like Devontae Smith. Chris Olave would be that guy for the Saints. I think it's something to discuss. It's something to at least monitor, and it's a fun idea to throw together. Again, I don't know if it's 100% going to happen. I seriously doubt a move happens, but, still something fun to talk about and definitely a situation to monitor. Now, we're going to talk more about the wide receiver position for the New Orleans Saints. They got some needs. They have to definitely address this spot sooner rather than later. And for what it's worth, I don't think it's just a trade. I think you also got to draft some stuff. So we're going to talk wide receiver here for the back half of this video. Draft A.J. Brown and everything else in between. But first things first, got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in the whole wide world. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss on any of the action this season over on Prize Picks, where it's always good to be right. It's the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. If you want to pick more on Josh Allen's passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns, you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. For this week's matchup, I am going with a couple of easy selections. You put down $20, this lineup right here will win you $120. Cam Scatterby finds the end zone. Chris Olave finds the end zone. 2 plays, your boy can cash in for $120. Are you kidding me? That is so dang easy. You just pick 2 to 6 players, more or less, on their stats, and boom. You get it right, you're cashing in. Follow other players on Prize Picks directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity, partner, or somebody whose picks you like. Hit the follow button. Check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab over on Prize Picks. They put their users first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. They even offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. They also offer injury reboots, so if one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks will not count it as a loss, which if you're a Saints fan, that right there is a massive, massive win. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS, and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. All that information is available in the comments and description of this video. Reminder, use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Shout out to Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Click the link in the comments and description of this video. Now, in my personal opinion, I think that this offense will evolve as the season goes on. And Lopez, if you could do me a favor, and I want to revisit the stats that the receiving leaders for New Orleans currently have put up through 4 games. Reminder, Brandin Cooks, he's a player who's a veteran. He's a player who's contributing. But I don't think that he is a guy, as the season continues to go on, will still be a high-level contributor, at least in the top 4 of receiving leaders for the New Orleans Saints. I think that Mason Tipton, I think that Devon Vele, I think that Trey Palmer all have opportunities to maybe even dethrone Brandin Cooks as a receiving leader. But don't forget, you have Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill cleared to return to practice, so maybe those are guys that could be contributors to the offense as well. My whole point with this conversation is that although I find a reunion unlikely to happen, I think that this is still a conversation that should be had in a situation that should be monitored. I don't think that the Eagles are going to be dealing A.J. Brown anytime soon. For what it's worth, I think if they were to trade away A.J. Brown, it would be a bad idea for Philadelphia. That being said, I don't think A.J. Brown just posted all that stuff on social media just because he wanted some people to talk about it on a podcast. No, I think that this is a serious situation. They're talking about it on Pat McAfee. They're talking about it on ESPN. They're talking about it on a lot of these different sports channels and YouTube channels and podcasts and TV shows. This is a situation that's been created by A.J. Brown, and it's not something that's just crazy tweet, move on. Like, I think that there's a reason that this is all happening. If A.J. Brown is happy or is unhappy in Philadelphia, I think that the New Orleans Saints would be silly to at least not make a call and say, hey, Howie, you fleeced us in the past. We're not letting that happen again, but what can we do to bring this player to New Orleans? Again, I want to make something explicitly clear. There's going to be comments in my videos that this is clickbait and that we're selling out and we always do this nonsense, blah, 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 blah. Look, I see all those comments, and quite frankly, they're all bullshit, and it's a fact here. We are just simply doing our jobs. Kellen Moore was the head coach was the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles when they won a Super Bowl. A.J. Brown is unhappy with the situation of Philadelphia, and the Saints have a need, and it's a very obvious need, and I've said this so many times, they need a player like A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown could be the guy you get. You could just go and get A.J. Brown. I'm not saying the Saints need to go and do this right away. I'm not saying or advocating to go and trade away a ton of picks for it. But I'm saying if this is a serious situation that is a real problem, you definitely need to keep your eyes on it. And trading for a wide receiver right here, right now, if you're the New Orleans Saints, it's a bad idea. You're 0-4. You are in a position where you're rebuilding. You do not need to be going and trading in assets. You need to be trading away assets so that way you can be recouping some of those draft capital and those picks that you've already traded away. But I think also if you were to trade for a wide receiver financially, it may be a bad idea because you don't have a ton of money next year to roll over. You have some this year right now, so it's like you got to be kind of conscious of the contracts and the money side of things as well. And then why do we talk about offering Chris Olave earlier? Well, because you don't have, if you brought in A.J. Brown, you wouldn't have to pay Olave. There's all that kind of stuff. So, look, in my opinion, the thing for the New Orleans Saints right now is that they need an alpha wide receiver. They need somebody that can take over the game. They need somebody who is going to be a dominant presence and a player that at any point in time can just take over and say, I'm the best player on the field. Try to stop me. Have fun. Like, we need somebody who is a can't guard Mike type player. Somebody who doesn't matter what route you run, doesn't matter how predictable it is, still going to beat you. And so I think drafting a wide receiver would be an excellent addition. I was surprised that the Saints didn't draft one this past year, but I think that they need to get a specific type of wide receiver. Don't just get me somebody who can catch the ball fairly well. Get me an alpha. Get me a dog. Get me somebody who is going to be a dominant force for the foreseeable future of my offense. Because in a perfect world, you could have Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and then insert dominant alpha wide receiver, and your receiving threat is absolutely amazing for Rattler, Shuck, or whoever the hell the quarterback is of the future. Some names in college football that I have fallen in love with. Jordan Tyson, Chris Brazzell, Nyck Harbor, that guy. Goodness gracious, I'm excited about him. Carnell, Tate, and Denzel Boston. You'll notice on your screen a lot of these guys, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". Jordan Tyson 6'2", but still one of the best receivers in all of college football. The Saints need size. They need dominance. They need physicality. They need somebody who is an alpha. And although Jordyn Tyson is not the biggest receiver in college football, he is one of the best. And I can tell you that this is a player who I think could make an impact almost immediately. And I don't think that the New Orleans Saints need to prioritize drafting Jordyn Tyson, especially if you have like a top 4, top 5 pick, top 3 pick more than likely. I don't think Jordyn Tyson's the guy you need to go and get. I'd love to do like an edge rusher in that regard, maybe a quarterback, depending on what you know about your quarterback situation. So Jordyn Tyson's somebody, if you trade back or maybe you start winning games and he's still and your draft pick goes up, maybe he's a player that you consider. But somebody that I am in love with, Nyck Harbor out of South Carolina. Goodness gracious, ladies and gentlemen, 6'5", 235 pounds. This dude is a beast. This guy is a freak of nature. I am really impressed with him. I think that he's an athletic guy. I think he's somebody that could basically just be like another tight end, honestly. But a receiver. Like, I really, really like this player a lot in South Carolina's offense. I think Shane Beamer's doing a great job with him. And I think for Carnell, Tate, Denzel Boston, Chris Brazzell as well, all of those guys, very productive, very quality players, dudes who I think can make an impact almost immediately on whatever roster they get added to. But reminder, the Saints have size. They have speed. They need size. And so I'm going to continue to go back to draft the proven player. That's an alpha, 6'3", 6'4", or bigger, and then somebody who's got some muscle that can out-physical and out-body these NFL defensive backs, safeties, and linebackers. Because quite frankly, the passing attack has not been good enough. And if you're not going to go trade for A.J. Brown, you might as well bring in somebody who can do the same things as him at a cheaper cost and at a younger situation because it's a draft pick. Now, if you guys are a real ones, I want you to get in the comment section and give me a real one, because it's a real one roll call here on the channel. And for what it's worth, you cannot call yourself a real one unless you're subscribed to the Saints Now by Chat Sports. So hit the sub button, join the channel, and let me know that you are a real one. 51,157 doesn't happen on accident. Let's get to 100K ASAP and hit the sub button to all the real ones.